Chronicles of Hope is essential reading for seekers of inspiration and spiritual empowerment. This series offers nourishment for those on a path of increased awareness at this challenging time. Inspired by higher sources of wisdom, Chronicles of Hope delivers messages to lift your spirit with a roadmap of hope and guidelines for living a life of expanded consciousness. The guides offer powerful insight for mental, emotional, and spiritual growth at this critical tipping point for humanity. The message is clear. We must change. We have the power to raise our vibrational energy individually and collectively before it's too late. I am Lois Herman, author of the best-selling Chronicles of Hope series and host of the Inspiring Hope radio show at WSMN.live or 95.3 FM. You can find me at loisherman.com or chroniclesofhope.net.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you are inspired by today's show. And today is a very special show. They're all special, but some of them are more special than others. Today is a follow-on of the show from last week. Last week we had the reading of Session 3 from Chronicles of Hope, Book 2, The Collective. We had Aurora come through with Andrew reading it, the sister spirit to Gary. And it was very, very poignant. Her messages were so powerful and so timely, and yet that message came through 4 years ago. And a lot can happen, a lot has happened in just the past 2 years. So 4 years ago, I received these messages and I was blown away, but my brain had me putting this date out there like 25 or 100 years. And the stuff that she's talking about is happening right now. So today what we're going to do is we're going to discuss this session with Aurora, and I've got two of my favorite soul sisters with me. I have Christine Peck here in the studio with me, and Kathy Kubacki, she's calling in from upstate New York, and we're going to discuss the different messages and how the messages from Aurora from 4 years ago apply to what is going on in our world today. And before we get started, I would like to replay this song, and I want you to truly listen to the words. It's from Enya. It's called The Humming.
And all the more
And all of this begins again. So it's very interesting how Aurora was so adamant that we needed to pay attention. And yet, I think what she did for me was to raise the flag of alarm, of awareness, not to create fear, but to create the alert that there are things we can do. And that's what I want to talk about. This is not about the fear of doom and gloom. This is the awareness of change now, guys. We've got to change.
Right.
So welcome to the studio, Christine.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Move that so that we can hear you more.
Okay.
There we go. That's better. Good.
All right.
And Kathy, are you there?
I sure am. Good morning to my two favorite girls.
Good morning.
Good morning, dear soul sister. We wish you could be here in the studio with us, but you are here energetically.
I absolutely am.
And you know what I want to do is I'd like to start the way we start all of our gatherings with our setting our sacred space.
Yeah.
Because the guides have taught us to do this. We shine brightly especially when we're together. So it's really important that we set sacred space, and we do this every day individually. So let's do this collectively. We're going to include art in this. So we're going to have 8 columns or pillars of gold and white light surrounding us, a foundation of light underneath, a dome of light overhead, and walls of light connecting the 8 pillars. And on the outside of all of the walls of light, we're going to put a shiny reflective coating that deflects anything negative, transmutes it, transforms it to positive. And on the outside of that, let's ask Saint Germain to place his violet flame that puts us in kind of a stealth mode so that we are protected. We can shine as brightly as we want for all those with arms to hear, arms to hold, hearts to feel, and minds to hear. And on the inside, let's invite our wonderful guides with that violet flame to transmute anything negative that's in our space here. And we're going to invite our wonderful guides that they speak through us, that they share their wisdom. Jesus, the archangels, and especially today, let's invite Aurora here because it's her message that we're talking about. So you are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.5 FM. So please share these messages and watch the videos on my YouTube channel or website, loisherman.com. And join our Hope community for support and inspiration at chroniclesofhope.net. And there you'll join Christine and Kathy and I. We have discussions like this all the time. So let's start with the first part of this opening. When we first got together, Gary Paul and I, we were in awe about the messages that Jesus brought in the chapter before, because he's always bringing inspiration. I know both of you relate. So do you have any comments on that?
It just felt wonderful to have it restated, that well, a lot of what Aurora said was supporting what we had heard in the message from Jesus, and knowing how loved humanity is by these children's children, who make such an effort to help us. And so,
absolutely. Kathy, any comments? Because I know you're a big Jesus fan.
I agree with Christine, and I think the takeaway for me was that Jesus was pure love, and Aurora came kind of as a follow-up to remind us that we're kind of not headed in that direction, or we're not mindful enough of tuning into that love and projecting it outward.
And that's what, they often will refer to religion, and she does in here. And oftentimes the religious messages have been that they were originally intended to bring love, but they ended up bringing division. And that was one of the clarifications that we wanted. We actually were wanting to bring in Muhammad.
Yeah.
We talked about that because we thought, well, maybe he would give us some insight from a different religious perspective that we're not as familiar with.
Right.
But as Aurora said, she how did she put it? She interceded, she interloped. Yes. So let's get started with the conversation itself. I do want to comment that seeing her, it was so different. Her energy was so different. She sat up in the chair. She folded her hands very politely on her lap. She was like this beautiful, lovely lady, and very different than, even Jesus. Each persona that came through had a different presentation, different energy, and it was just really interesting.
Right.
So that's why I kind of giggled when she said, "My name is Aurora." I'm like, well, this does not seem like a man, because the way that she just sat up in the chair, so pristine.
Right.
So she had never been on Earth before, and that was an important thing in retrospect to think about, because when we watched Jesus come through Gary, his energy dropped. Mm-hmm. So her energy, having never been in a human body before, she brought purity. Mm-hmm. She brought perspective from a high level down to humanity. So that was she felt that would be something that we might want to see. What did what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely got that feeling, and when she said very clearly, I think I can bring a different perspective, having never been here. You got the sense that, when Jesus came, there was a lot of sadness, and he was sad about how his message had been lost and distorted. So she didn't have that aspect with it. She was coming from purity and from a sense of, come on, let me wake you guys up a little bit and give you some hard truths and see what you do with it, which she might not have had as strongly if she had experienced the earth plane before.
That's a good point, because Jesus did have some sadness over his word, that emotion, that human emotion of his words of betrayal. Right. That came through in his session, whereas she didn't have that. She was more like, okay, kids.
Yeah.
Wake it up here. Kathy, what were your thoughts?
Well, truly a higher perspective, because I think we've had variations of this discussion before, but living on Earth is kind of a dense, exhausting experience. And so to see the two perspectives where, Jesus is certainly a higher perspective as well, but there, for me at least, came the acknowledgement that, oh my God, people are exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
so
and
she kind of brought it through in a higher, I don't necessarily know if purity is the right word, but untainted and undiluted by humanity.
Mm-hmm.
How about
and
that?
she would have been his sister.
Right.
a sister spirit to him. So she said
Yes.
that she looks after her siblings while they're incarnated. So she
Right.
looked after Jesus as she was looking after Gary as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I know we had these questions about the two futures because we kept hearing that from the Unquietus and from Ray and from Jesus. Humanity has two futures, and we wanted to get more specific about what are the futures. And this comment that she made, the path that humanity is currently on, if it makes no changes, will invariably lead to its own end. And that is where we were 4 years ago. And yet, I feel that a lot of people are waking up.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
I agree.
So she also went on to say, the world as you know it is coming for an end. Well, guess what? The world as we knew it from 4 years ago is different. Our world right now is different, isn't it?
Yes.
Very.
What do you see as different over just the past 2 years? What has changed?
Well, from my perspective, I do see a lot more people waking up. I see a lot more people living in the moment, being more appreciative and in a state of gratitude, seeing the beautiful skies, seeing the beautiful nature, paying attention to Gaia, and also not being so complacent, taking action, claiming their sovereignty over their own bodies again. And it's obviously not everybody, but there are a lot more in that camp than were 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Kathy, what are your thoughts? We're seeing the positive. We're also seeing the opposite of that too.
Right.
Yes, we are seeing the opposite effect where it seems like in a lot of instances, civility has gone out the window. The way people speak to one another. I know for one, have withdrawn a little bit. I'm not quite as outgoing as I used to be, and I stay home a lot more because I just, not that I can't rise to the occasion of a conflict, but I just don't seek it out. And people are just, while I do advocate for people standing in their truth, I don't think that is the same as yelling it in someone's face.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
And there is a lot of that's going on. One of the comments that she makes is that the ultimate future of the species depends largely on the survivors that we will survive. The world as we know it is coming to an end. Some will survive to start again. But she made the comment, the people who are leading civilization down the path of destruction are the people who will make the strongest effort to protect themselves. However, they won't necessarily succeed.
Right.
And these are the ones that are leading people down this path of destruction right now. So what she is saying is be aware that there are those who are doing this damage to people.
Right. And
Well, exactly.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Go ahead, Christine.
Okay. I was just going to add to that and say those words for me were very hopeful because the people right now who are the ones in power who are leading us, for those of us who are seeing it, leading us down, by that us I mean humanity, leading down the path that is one of destruction. There are some who are following blindly and can't hear otherwise, just can't recognize, can't see that there might be a different narrative. But hearing that they are not going to be successful was really filling me in such a ray of hope and determination to continue with holding the light and the higher frequency. So,
exactly. Yeah. Kathy, your comments on that?
Well, I think the thing that is most evident to me is the greed.
Yeah.
There really isn't scarcity. It's artificially created because when you are traversing this world from a place of lack and scarcity, you live in a constant state of fear. And that's that kind of predisposes you to illness. But like the great toilet paper famine of 2020, honestly, did people need cases and cases and cases? You couldn't just buy what you need. So I don't understand how a mindset shifts to that, and not to, oh my God, there are other people that have needs as well.
Right.
I was brought up that, if I had two and somebody needed one, I gave them one of my two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't understand.
And I agree with you, Kathy, that the average person is willing to share. The average person, even if they're living in, hand to mouth or day to day, they will still share with one another. It is the people who are in control that are wanting, that they're so avarice with their greed, that's where the issue is. Because she again says the meek shall inherit the earth is still the probable future. That is still the most likely outcome for civilization. A new civilization based on equality.
Right.
And the meek does not mean weak. Meek
No.
to me means aware, awake, and alert.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I don't think that comes with loud shouting voices insisting, you need to agree with me.
Meek is also respect for one another, and she also comments about respecting Gaia, respecting these people. She says these people have no voice, the people who are in scarcity. And there are so many people who have kind hearts who reach out to help. But unfortunately, we have seen, as we go down this rabbit hole of discovery, that there are greedy, I want to just use the word evil people in all walks of life. We're finding them, it is amazing, in religions, in hospitals, in politics, in education, it is, in the entertainment system. It is amazing where the people that are so greedy instead of giving. And that's what we're finding right now, is the people who are publicly in power.
Yes. Yes, and I find it really interesting that people always want to lead this back to politics when it really isn't political. It isn't, I certainly wouldn't look to a celebrity for any major life decision. So I don't understand why they think you're supposed to look to these people now for something as critical as your health.
They've been programmed. People have been programmed because they're in front of the television. These are the people who are in our face all the time. And so then, we have to listen to them. And that's our misperception.
It is. I guess we look at that differently because we're hypnotists, but
Yes.
I think it does require some delving into as an offset, if you will, of this cognitive dissonance that seems to be going on, where only the thoughts that reverberate in my head could possibly be correct. There's a reason they call the lineup that you watch on television programming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you think about it, when I look back at my past, now we're talking 7th grade, I was really into the Monkees.
I was too.
And I had posters of
my
Peter
God.
Tork on my wall. And everybody else liked Davy. I liked Peter Tork. Anyway, but going back to even my parents' generation, my mother was a big fan of Frank Sinatra.
Right.
So these people who were the public, in the public face, had a voice. And then the people followed their voice. So we've been programmed for a long time to believe whoever is in that limelight, they must be really important. And when you actually look at their lives, they were kind of messed up.
Yes, and it's being mirrored now. Wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask, and all the people telling you to wear a mask have been caught multiple times in public, not social distancing and not wearing a mask.
Yeah. The mask is about hiding your persona, because it's been proven time and again, wearing a mask is like taking sand and throwing it at a barbed wire fence.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's not going to protect you from anything. That has been proven. Even Fauci claimed that early on, and then he's changed and changed and changed
Right.
again.
Right.
So people
But
need
it's
to
about
wake up.
depersonalizing and it's
Exactly.
about silencing a voice. That's what they used to do to slaves. Slaves
Right.
wore masks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what she said is the only alternate path that civilization can take would be to make changes that support those who are now forgotten. People need to make decisions. The people who have decided to send humanity down this path in the first place are the ones that are causing the problems. She says we have no recommendation other than to speak out. And that's what's happening now. Like you were saying earlier,
Yeah.
Christine, people are stepping up. They're speaking out. And as we step up and speak out in groups,
Yeah.
we're making others aware. We're causing others to start shaking them out of the spell and to think for themselves, to really look with their wise mind at what's going on. And that's what we have to do, because there are more good people on this planet. There are so many more good people.
Right. And you can
Absolutely.
see it happening globally. It's not just in our country, and it's so encouraging to see so many people claiming the power back for themselves.
Yes.
And really speaking their voice and what they believe in. And it is a real gift to be able to see this as it's unfolding before us.
It is a gift, because to see the world come together, not
Right.
just
Right.
small little clusters of people,
Right.
it is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yes, watching what I call the alternative news. There's news sources that
Yeah.
we all share that we are seeing different people standing up across the world. We are seeing things about ivermectin
Right.
in this little country in the south of Africa that was given to people, and none of them, it was given for a different reason, but none of them were sick.
Right.
None of them got COVID.
Right.
There's so many, when we look beyond our immediate narrative that's been programmed to the people around us,
Right.
and we look more broadly, we're seeing the people of France revolt
Right.
against the tyranny that's there,
Right.
and
Yeah.
other countries, other places as well.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
that,
and then
go ahead.
to see the hypocrisy on TV, where people took horse paste and now they're in, they refer to ivermectin as horse paste, which is absolute horse manure,
Yeah.
and saying, they're being treated at hospitals for taking horse paste. That's a lie.
It is a lie. Yes.
That's a lie. It's not only a preventative, but it's a treatment.
Right.
And William Campbell won the Nobel Prize for ivermectin
Yeah.
in 2015. Oh, none of that gets mentioned.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing the different statistics. I read something where this was at a assisted living facility. Evidently, ivermectin is used for different types of parasitic type infections.
Right.
So the people on one floor, I think they said the fourth floor in this specific environment, had scabies. So they were all given ivermectin. All the patients were given ivermectin, not the staff, but the patients were given.
Right.
And what happened then when COVID hit, none of the patients got sick, but 50% of the staff were sick. So
Wow.
there's this
Yeah.
one doctor had listed 30-something cited proof positive cases, presented it to the Senate,
Right.
and it was all squelched by the
Right.
media, which is
Right.
very, very sad.
Yeah.
People need to you need to do some research, do some digging, and find that there's so much information out there that is positive, that is hopeful. Everything on the mainstream media is negative and fear-based, which is where they want us to be.
Right.
Well, that was the first thing that went up on TV was the death crawl every day. Now, everyone that got COVID didn't die from COVID.
Right. Right.
Everyone that died didn't die from COVID.
Oh, yeah, that's been proven now.
And it was to set a mindset.
She talked about that people thrive on conflict. It's a very peculiar trait of humans. And at one point it becomes excessive. We're all hypnotists. So we do know that, to me, and we've spoken about this, that even though we're old souls, we've been around the block a time or two, we don't really thrive on conflict. But when we encounter conflict, we respond based on old memory, whether it is from our this life, whether it's past lives, whether it's DNA generic or generated memory. We have many different traumatic memories that we respond to. And what we have to do is come from a place of healing those wounds.
Right.
Once we heal the wounds, then we can step into our maturity.
Yes. Yes. And that's, I think, what's going to bring this earth back into balance. You know, I mean, Aurora said as much, and I agree 1,000%.
Right.
Yeah, she talked about we need to learn to live together or face near extinction. And that Gaia loves her children, but at some point she's going to step up and say, enough of this. I'm going to clean the slate again here, guys. And it's happened 5 times in the Earth's past. Yeah. And the Anquitas went through the 5 different major extinctions. And Aurora says several of those events were beyond Gaia's control, but some of them were her own doing.
Right.
And she still weeps for the species that are lost. She weeps for every life that's lost. But sometimes it comes down to the greater good for the greatest number. And we're at that tipping point now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So she also said we've discouraged new spirits from being born as humans. Because as old guys, we have the maturity. However, we also come with old baggage.
Right.
That we have to heal. That's the important piece, is we've got to heal ourselves to keep our vibe high so that we look at this as if we're dealing with kindergartners who are squabbling.
Right. But the other way I do look at it is when you look at a mother and a mother's role and how she always usually sacrifices herself to take care of the children and what she's doing. Whereas if she took better care of herself, there would be more of her to be able to take care of her children. So I see right now, especially the old souls, if we really do work and heal our traumas, our baggage, our things that have come over, then we can hold that light, that compassion, that love, and beam it out to those who need that extra boost or help or sense of hope in what they're facing with. So I agree with you, Lois. It's critical for those of us who are aware to realize how important it is to do our own self-healing at all levels, at the physical body, at the emotional, at the spiritual.
And intellectual.
Yes. Absolutely.
I know I've been on a discovery mission of learning.
So have I.
And realizing that the stuff we're dealing with right now is not new.
Right.
It's been here for a long time, and us old souls, we were here at all these different pivotal points, but we've gathered together this time, and we are going to shift it. We have won in the past. Yeah. However, some of those winnings were temporary, and this time we have to stop this. We have to stop the evil, this greed.
It feels different to me.
Yes.
I really feel that the outcome is going to be really positive.
Yeah. Kathy, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's already feeling like it's made that positive shift because, you know, a lot of this, you know, she said in one part, humanity is also worthy of respect. Mm-hmm. She didn't say some of humanity.
Yeah.
She said humanity. Mm-hmm. And you know, it isn't a majority of people that are causing the majority of problems.
Right.
And we have to kind of refocus. And to your point, Christine, exactly. And we have to do whatever's necessary. So that's why I feel like setting that sacred space every day is essential. You know, it's like resetting your compass that we use to navigate through life. And, you know, maybe part of it is the hypnosis piece, but I focus on the things that make me feel love in my heart and try to go from that place rather than just responding to anger. I mean,
Right.
It's easy to respond to anger with anger, but that's why we came here as old souls, is to kind of teach a new way.
Exactly. And I know that, Christine, you had a person who responded very angrily to you. We've all had different situations. This is part of why I don't do Facebook very much anymore, because I don't, not even responding to me, I don't like the way people have the sense that it's okay for them to respond with this unconditional anger toward another
Correct.
person. It brings my energy down. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
You actually had an issue with somebody who was brutal, just very, very viciously mean.
Right. And it, to be honest, it so caught me off guard because this was from a person who in the past has always been very kind and nice to talk to. And it was, just came